and welcome to another enlightening episode of the Passion Vista Podcast, where we delve into the inspirational stories of our distinguished guests from diverse walks of life. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Priscilla Kucer, a global management consultant, coach, and a change maker. With over 18 years of experience and a passion for empowering women and uplifting global economies, Dr. P's journey from Barbados to earning multiple degrees in the US is nothing short of inspiring. Let's dive into her remarkable story and insights. Welcome to podcast, Dr. Priscilla.
Hi, Dr. Singh. It is so awesome to see you. Oh my gosh. Feel like we're right next to each other. It is honest.
Absolutely. It's after a very long time we are catching up again, and we are very delighted and very heartful delightment to you that you have actually managed to be with us on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I know this is a long time coming, but finally we're here.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Priscilla, we would certainly like to know about how growing up in Barbados shaped your perspective on education and business.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I'm biased because I love where I grew up. Absolutely love where I grew up. I mean, most people do is what I was told, but I'm going to be biased and say, Barbie, this is awesome. It is absolutely a wonderful experience I had growing up. That's where my parents from. I was born and raised there, and that's where my family is. That's where my husband is right now. And growing up in Barbados, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really wouldn't. My parents were always there to support me, even when I was struggling in school and I had no idea why I was struggling. They were there to help me, to get me the necessary support I needed. We call it lessons, when you get, and other
Yes,
people call it tutoring. So you get these extra
yes,
lessons from different teachers outside of the school system because school was really hard for me, right? Doing the reading and the writing and the math, it was hard for me. And my parents didn't want to see me struggle. So they did the best they can to get me support. And that's when I realized, you know what? I learned differently. I wasn't learning the same way as everybody else in my class, but I learned differently. And sometimes when you're going through it and you're watching everybody else do good and you're not doing good, you have a tendency to go, oh my God, I suck, something's wrong with me and I'm not smart. But when I encountered other adults, other teachers who were able to teach me in a different way, I realized I was smart. Plus, my parents got me involved in dancing, and in sports. We got
wonderful.
netball. we got a British influence, right? So we got netball. So I did
Right.
netball and, played the piano and learned how to play the piano and everything. And I was good at doing those things. I mean, I really love dancing. And I realized, you know what? We might not always be good at reading, writing, and math, but there are other things that we're good at and that you can have fun. And learning became fun again. And again, my parents, oh my gosh, I wouldn't trade them. They were there with me through all the craziness, getting me to all these lessons, especially my mom with her busy work schedule. And she still made sure that we got from school to where we needed to be for this extracurricular. And she showed up and she stayed, she supported. Really big shout out to my mom. Love her to death. Um,
moms
so with
moms are always there for this thing only, that they want their child to be the best.
Yes, they do. And in my case, both my parents did, right? They were always there to support me. And my parents taught me that, hey, just because you don't excel in one area doesn't mean you can't excel in others. So it
Wonderful.
helped me through primary school and through secondary school. And I remember when I was in secondary school, I said to them, hey, I have a little proposition. And I said to them, I am thinking I want to be this thing called a psychologist. Not quite sure what it is, but that's what I want to be because I want to be able to help children who are struggling to not struggle and realize, hey, they are smart, they are intelligent, and they can do things, right? I told them
Yes.
I don't have all the details, but that's what I want to be. And I'll go to school at the University of the West Indies in Barbados, because at that point in time, we had free education, right? So it was like I could go to school there, and then they could pay for me to go to graduate school off the island. So that was my big proposition I had for them. And my parents, bless their heart, neither one of them even knew what a psychologist was at the time, but that did not stop the two of them from going out and asking questions and trying to find people to connect with me to help me figure out what exactly is a psychologist, what do they do, and if it's something I should truly be pursuing. Unfortunately, we didn't get that much support. My parents got a lot of people that I reached out to who say there's no way they're going to waste their time talking to a 13-year-old because there's no way she knows what she wants to do, that I can check them when I'm like 20 or 30 something, when I truly have figured out what I wanted to do in life. My parents, they love me to death, and they're like, y'all don't know our daughter. If she's determined to do this, this is what she's going to do, with or without y'all as assistants. And so be it, even though these individuals didn't want to sit down and talk to me about what it meant to be, even in psychiatry or psychology, that didn't stop me. And my parents supported me, and I went on to do psychology at the University of the West Indies in Cave in Barbados. And then I went on to Nova Southeastern University to do the clinical psychology program. That first year was a bit rocky, and it wasn't necessarily a good fit for me. And I felt really bad because I'm like, oh my God, my parents put so much into this and I don't like it, But I did talk to the director of the program within clinical psychology, actually, the dean I spoke to. And the dean gave me a challenge. She gave me some homework to go look into. And I told her she was only trying to keep me in her program to keep numbers. But she said no, because I was actually doing well in the clinical psychology program. So she said to me, maybe it's not clinical psychology that's of interest to you. Consider other things. So between taking several vocational tests and talking to the director of the school psychology program, I realized that the better fit for me was actually school psychology, that I never heard anything about growing up in the islands. You always heard about a guidance counselor, but never a school psychologist. Watching TV, we
Correct.
only saw those people, having adults sitting on a couch. And I'm like, what the hell is a school psychologist? Honestly, Dr. Singh, I swore they made that up. I'm like, y'all just try to keep me here, you know? But it
That's
actually was a real
absolutely
profession.
interesting.
I didn't know. So that is how I ended up doing school psychology. And that helped me. Again, my parents helped me through this process. They supported my crazy change from the clinical psychology to the school psychology program, and they continue to support me to this day.
Wonderful, wonderful story from a young girl to becoming a school psychologist. I mean, that is really amazing. So, we would certainly like to know a little more about school psychology. I mean, this is very interesting. Even I'm learning it for the first time, that how actually, the role of a school psychologist is, and how does this contribute to the students' lives.
Oh, so with school psychology, it is not a school counselor. It's not a guidance counselor. Completely different professions. Because with the guidance counselors that many of us might know, is that person who helped you kind of pick out a job, a career in life. That was that person. But with school psychology helps you with understanding how a child is performing within the school system and also at home, because with school psychologists, we get to help you understand how a child performs academically, behaviorally, social, and emotionally, to see what is really happening. Where are you having your strengths? Where are you having your struggles? And work with teachers and parents to identify those sources of the struggles, but also the interventions that can be put in place to help them. So if it's struggling within reading, within writing, within math, if you're struggling with learning classroom rules, I'm following the classroom rules with the with your behaviors, if you're struggling with managing your emotions and how to interact socially, those are all things that school psychologists can help with. A lot of school psychologists do a lot of the assessments, and this is not something that is just unique to the US. School psychologists are all over the world, all over the world, all countries, well, not all, but most countries do have training programs within school psychology. And they work alongside the teachers and the special education, especially the special education teachers, to help provide those supports. There are people who think school psychologists only work within special education, and that's not accurate. We do work within special education, but we also work with the general population within a school, because when you
Correct.
look at all children go to school, right? When all children go to school, they're receiving their education. And it's when they're receiving this education, some of them might be struggling a little bit, but that doesn't mean they have a disability. They might just need to see information presented differently. Like in my
Correct.
case, I was struggling a lot and I never knew why till I got to Nova and I was doing the classes and I found out I actually have dyslexia. I didn't know that. And yes, they
Oh,
say when you start doing psychology, you swear everything they talk about is you. But there's a huge difference when you can actually say what it is without ever hearing what it was before, but you could describe every single thing that you experience, and it turns out that's what it is. So when I found out about that, I told my parents, "Did y'all know this is what I have?" They're like, "No, we knew something was wrong, and we were trying to help you, but we couldn't figure out what." Right? So it's understanding that these things do exist, and with school psychologists, helping teachers and parents understand how they can help their children. And with school psychology, because it's such a global effect that you have within the school system, I got the opportunity to work within the human resources component when they were looking at doing recruitment. New school psychologists are of interns, and looking in terms of how do you get an entire system, an entire school to really look at what's happening in their school and how can they make changes that can help all students, and then
mhm.
how those changes can help specific groups of students. So looking at, okay, what is really the goal, what is really the plan here that the school has for the students, that really got me excited because I got to learn about their strategic plan. I got to learn about their strategic goals. I learned so much about how budgets play a huge role in everything that you do. So yes, you want to help children, but you have to understand big picture. And it's that interest that I had that actually led me to my doctorate in industrial organizational psychology, because being able to look at big systems and look at how all those different parts operate together and then how they impact the individual pieces, that's what became very passionate for me because of my journey within school psychology. So just wanted to kind of sum it up there
Correct.
that with school psychology, you work with students to really help them where they're struggling academically, behaviorally, emotionally, socially, and you provide those supports so that they can be successful in school.
That's wonderful to know. And I think this one, you can say concern which you are facing actually became your strength. And you've actually converted into a profession. I mean, this is absolutely wonderful, from a school psychologist, and then you've gone to become a business coach. So how did this motivation come to your life?
It is an interesting journey to me because when I first started within doing my business, and I first started being a business coach and a management consultant, and I remember sharing with people, "Hey, my background's in school psychology." They looked at me like, "So you were a teacher?" I'm like, "No, I was a school psychologist." "So you were a school counselor?" "No, I was a school psychologist." So having to explain how there's even any type of connection between the experience of a school psychologist to being a business coach. Because my experience has been that many people who become business coaches were big time business executives, in firms that they worked in for 20 years or 30 years or even 10 years. And a lot of people are looking at them in terms of, hey, you worked in business, so you can help me. I'm not disputing that those individuals have experiences that they can give, but you also have to look at what kind of experiences are they offering to others. And that's when I realized how I can be different. Because for me, I am really focused on the operations, the processes, and the goals. And my background is in psychology, it's not in business. So, looking at it from the industrial organizational psychology point of view and looking at the big system, I helped myself to realize when I was a school psychologist working in different school districts, that's what I was always interested in. I was interested in that big picture. And like I mentioned earlier, and the listeners can follow along with this. As I mentioned earlier, I was interested in how that big system ended up helping just one individual child, and also how it ended up helping one individual adult, because we can find out what was going on with a student. You can identify where they needed the support. But once you identify that, you got to figure out how you're going to give that support. Who is going to give that support? Is the person even trained to give that support? And if they're not trained, how can we get them that training that they need? And not a one-time training, that training that provides that continuous support. And in talking to different adults as we're going through this process, I get to learn a lot about them. So a lot of them were sharing about their own goals and interests that they wanted to pursue after they retired from their position in the school system. And I was like, okay, we're just talking about helping you with this intervention in the classroom, but now they're telling me about their lifelong dreams, right? And from there, I started
Right.
thinking, why wait till retirement? Why not
Yeah,
start it
great.
now? So,
Yeah.
ironically, we're talking about helping a child with an intervention. Now, this turns into talking to an adult and trying to help them figure out what they wanted to do with their life. And you're like, what intervention can I put in place here for you to help get you to where you want to be? And
Yes.
what can you start with now so that you can start small and, grow into what you wanted to do? And it's a very odd experience in the sense that wherever I've worked, I've come across those instances where we started off talking about helping the child, then we ended up talking about the adult themselves and what they wanted to do with their life. And all of that really got me to be thinking about, why is it that many of us wait? Why do we wait until retirement?
Mm.
Why are we waiting for 10 years? Yes, there are different reasons, especially depending on your retirement plan that you selected. There are different reasons, but a big part of it is not understanding how to start it, what is involved in starting. I saw that when we were doing interventions, and I also saw that when talking to adults who want to become business owners. Then I started talking to actual business owners and learning about their journey. And I started to see so many similarities between what I was experiencing working in the different school districts and what happens when people are starting or wanting to start a business, or even if they have started, but they're kind of starting to stagnate and they're not even sure where they wanted to go. So for me, I really sat down, did a lot of reflection, and did a lot of analysis and comparison. And I saw what made sense for me. And what made sense for me was to be able to help individuals truly understand how they can have this idea for a business, or even if they have started their business, how to truly examine their business to see what are the operations, processes, and most importantly, goals that they have for their business.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
where it truly started to make that sense for me and have that alignment. And that's how I ended up switching over from the school psychology into the industrial organizational psychology, and then applying that into being a business coach and a management consultant. And my clients absolutely love the fact that I have this background, because they tell me I can truly listen to what's happening for them and help them see what makes sense for their specific situation. And that's where they see the benefits.
Absolutely correct. I think a psychologist can better understand how to move forward or where the client or a human being basically needs help. Because if you understand a human being, you actually helping them understand themselves and their business and what do they want to do and what do they want to discover in their lives. So I think this is a beautiful step that you've taken, and you're doing tremendously good. We're very, very proud of you. So, Dr. P, we would like to know that how do activities like soca music contribute to your overall well-being?
Oh my goodness, it helps to keep me in a high spirit and give me that positivity. Because growing up in Barbados, that is my absolute favorite music, soca music. It's mostly found in the Caribbean, and in Barbados, we have so many different soca artists, and they've traveled all over the world, and the beats are so infectious. So, especially like on a tough day, to put on
Hmm.
some soca music, it just lifts my spirit and it just puts me in a good, feel good mood. And it makes me feel like I could take over the world, to be honest, because it gets you so pumped up. You're like, yes, the energy level is there. You're like, yes, I can do this. I can power through. I've been doing my
Absolutely.
dissertation. I listen to soca music the whole way through because anyone who has done a dissertation, Dr. Singh, you know what I mean. Those dissertations are brutal. There's so much that you have to do, and we're doing it at the same time we're doing like 10 million other things. But you have to be doing a lot of research, a lot of reading. And I remember I had my music going just to help me stay awake, just so I can finish chapter 2, that lit review chapter. Oh my gosh. Anyone who's done a dissertation knows that chapter 2 is difficult to do, you know. And
Yes.
even with just tough days now within my business, because I do have tough days. And anybody who's a business owner who tells you, oh, every day is great, they're a liar. Every day is not
Yeah.
great.
They're
We
liars.
do
Yeah.
have tough days, and days when we're
Yes.
like, crap, I thought I made the right decision there. Then you see what happens, and you're like, oh, that was not the right decision. So, having to look at it and be like, oh, I'm feeling a little down, and you started doubting yourself. For me, in moments like that, I can put on my music, and in some instances, not gonna like Dr. Singh, I can get up and start to dance because it helps me to just relieve that stress and then kind of center and regroup. And I'm like, okay, and now I see what went wrong. Let's do this. And I go back at it. So I absolutely love the soca music.
Oh, that's amazing because you need that rejuvenation very, very importantly. Even I love Bollywood Indian music because I think that inspires me, and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that keeps me going. And this is what the power of music is, that it absolutely changes your mind.
Yes.
You're out of a situation and you are into your own zone, and you're
Mm-hmm.
pumped up and you're ready to for your next day, for your next task probably, and
Yes.
you're good to go.
Yes. You understand what
True.
I'm talking about. I know that Bollywood music. That can be infectious too.
Absolutely, being from the Bollywood industry and being from India, I think that's the best. And I think everyone loves Shah Rukh Khan. No, if you know the King Khan, I mean, I'm a big fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
So just can't live without listening to his music.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. So, what does the certification of your company as a certified women's business enterprise signify for your and your mission?
That was a huge accomplishment to get that women's business enterprise certification, because to be such a young company and looking at what's out there, initially I was like, oh, they're not going to certify somebody as young as my company. They're probably looking for people who've been out there for like 10 years. There's no way I'm going to get that chance. And, it's part of that thought that we put in our heads sometimes, and it has no validity whatsoever, but we're putting it in our head. And a lot of times we do that as creating blocks, and creating all of
Right.
these different excuses. And I remember saying to myself, no, let me go and look at what truly are the requirements. And I went and I looked and I'm like, there's nothing saying my company can't get this certification. So I sat down, went through all the requirements, made sure I got everything that they needed. And the team over at the Women's Business Council Southwest over in Texas, they're very, very helpful. So whenever I had questions, I would reach out and they would give me the answer that helped me out. I put my package together. Thought this thing, I was nervous because I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna say no, they're gonna say no. They're probably looking to just give it to people making $10 million a year. And I'm like, that's not me yet. So I'm freaking out about this. And I got their response for the interview. And I'm like, okay, first step is done. They accepted it. Now we're gonna do this interview. I was nervous. I felt like I was interviewing for school all over again. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? So I go and do this interview, and it was by far not what I thought it was going to be. Again, we create these things in our head to make things seem as though it's going to be by far more difficult. And it wasn't, because the purpose of the interview was to ask me about my business. And I know my company. It wasn't a matter of I just put a name on something and had somebody else running it. I run the company. So I know what is in the operational agreement. I know what the
Yes.
workflow processes look like. I know what the budget looks like. I know where the vision and the mission are, what those are, where we're going with those things, what happens on a daily basis. So as much as I was freaking out going into this, going, oh my God, I'm probably not going to pass. I'm like, pass, like it's an exam, right? I'm like, I'm not going to pass. They're going to fail me. But it was nothing like that. I got to really explain certain things about my business. And the person that interviewed me, we went through each and every one of the parts. And the biggest thing was they just wanted to make sure I understood what was happening from an operational standpoint within my business and where I wanted to go with it. And when I got that approval letter, I'm not gonna lie, Dr. Stain, the soaking music came on and I did a dance. I'm like, woo, oh my gosh, I got it, because again, being a small micro business and having this, I'm like, yes. I thought it was only for corporations, right? Again, putting all this crap in my head without even researching it. So being able to get it, I'm like, yes, I got it. And I'm now the owner of a women's business enterprise, a certified women's business enterprise. And that experience has been phenomenal because being a part of the Women's Business Council Southwest, I'm able to network with other women owned businesses. And I get to be a part of the Women of Color subcommittee within the association, and to be able to mentor other women owners who want to get the certification. That has been an experience I didn't even think about when I went for the certification, but being able to get that now and working with my clients that are based out of Texas, because the Women's Business Council is is so well known. They see it and they're reaching out and they're asking me, hey, how can I get this for my business? For some of them, they have a few more things they have to do, from a business entity standpoint to meet the requirements, but others, they're ready to go. So to be able
Yeah.
to have the certification for the business and to have clients who want to get it and to be able to help them get it, it has been such an amazing experience. And the ladies that I have met within the association and how they support each other and share information, give you some insight to resources. That's the type of support that I was hoping to get going into that association. And I'm happy that I am getting it because I've been a member of associations before. And I know some of the listeners here can relate. When you join it, you think you're going to get support and you don't get
Yeah.
support within the association. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
why am I in this? But that's not how the Women's Business Council Southwest is. They truly are there as a resource, the staff for the association, as well as the other members. So getting that added networking opportunity and that added support and access to resources has been truly, truly helpful for me and my business.
Absolutely, inspiring achievement, I would say, because you've done a wonderful job in this. entire process, because it's absolutely exciting, when you actually uh, do an achievement. It is a beautiful achievement which you've
Yes.
achieved after
Hmm.
that hard work, and especially as you have described it very beautifully, that an exam after a long time school break.
Yes.
So I think that moment would have been absolutely a achievement moment for you.
Yes,
Great,
it was.
congratulations again,
Thank
once
you.
again, for that.
Thank you.
So, going forward, we would like to know about your goals in serving on the board for GEMS Connections, and how do you plan to contribute to their mission?
Oh, Jams Connections is a nonprofit based in Austin. And I
Okay.
have now been on that board, I believe it's about 2 years. I can't believe that time has flown by so quickly. Bobby James is the founder of Jams Connections, and she's
Okay.
all about doing social good. And when I first met Bobby, I was like, oh, this is interesting. A key
Mm-hmm.
thing about doing social good for Bobby is education. And that's where she hooked me because she knows I got a passion for education. So, with education, she really wants to help other nonprofits understand what it means to be a nonprofit and put the necessary parts in place and realize that a nonprofit is a business. It is not
Yes.
a hobby. It is not just something that you're collecting money for. It is a business and it is designed to help people do something. So that's where she's very big on the educational piece and want to give access to those who have this desire but to having their nonprofit to be able to thrive. The other thing that Bobby does within Jams Connections that also hooked me is the fact that she helps nonprofits not just get the education they need, but to be able to execute an event for their own nonprofit. And I told her, Bobby, this is
Okay.
different. I said, you're like the event planner for nonprofits, the event producer. And she's like, you know what? I am. So she is very big on helping nonprofits be successful. And what do nonprofits need? Just like most businesses, they need funding, they need capital.
They
So
need
she helps
funding.
them with
Yes.
fundraising. And what helps you with fundraising? Doing events. So
Mm.
for Bobby, her team comes in and she works with the nonprofit to find out what is the goal for the event that they have. She helps them with finding the location and everything that they're going to need to have a successful event. I mean, even the photographer, she will even help you with finding, and if you're looking at getting food, who would be the best vendor for you to get? So she works with them to help them truly develop their event and actually execute the event. And she's been very successful at doing this. And that is part of the reason why I decided when she asked me to join her board, and I said, Bobby, I got a lot going on. I said, I got a lot going on. Let me think about this. But when you
Yeah.
walk away from some conversations and it's always in your head, I'm like, okay, how can I make this work? How can I make this work? So there were some things I
Wow.
had to say no to. And Bobby knows this. She knows I told her I had to say no to some things so I could say
Mhm.
yes to yours. And in working with Bobby, being a part of her board and really helping with the business development, helping her and her business truly see what their vision and their mission is, helping them truly put their values into place, and working with her to help her even develop more of her leadership skills and how she then leads Jams to be able to do all of the different things that she wants Jams to do.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I think you're doing a great job by serving to the society. That's really wonderful.
Yes.
And Dr. P, you have an very, very beautiful motto which you're supporting, that is solutions plus actions as equals to results.
Yes.
So we would like to know more about this beautiful code or an equation that you have formed.
Okay, so
Yep.
with the whole SoAR equation that I have going on, how that came about, I would won't lie to you. It started more from that experience I was having working within school districts, shifting over into IO psychology and looking at what I wanted to do from a business standpoint, where I wanted to go, where my business was concerned, having conversations with people. And I'm like, you know what? It really boils down to three things. And I was like, solutions, actions, and results. And when you look at different businesses and you see that they have their three little tagline words that they have, I'm like, that still isn't saying enough, because when I work with clients, yeah, I'm helping them find solutions. Then they have to take the actions. I'm like,
Absolutely.
they got to go together. You can't get actions without solutions. So it's like, okay, we figure out what the problem is, we identify those solutions, you got those solutions. For some people, they're like, yeah, no, I know what the solution is. Then I'm thinking, you know what? You still have to take the action. The solution isn't good unless you can take the action on that solution. Because we can come up with four solutions, but if we never take action on those four things, then what's the point? We can just look at them
Absolutely.
on the list on the paper, but that's not going to help us to truly make any type of improvement. So I'm like, okay, we got solutions and we got actions. Then when you're taking these actions, we can't just be taking actions in vain. We got to be taking actions and we got to be monitoring them, because we got to make sure our actions are truly aligned with that solution, which is connected to a specific problem. So with the actions, it becomes, what are those things we're doing that are truly getting us that meaningful result? Because in the end, we're looking at the outcome. And especially for the business owners who are listening to this and the aspiring business owners and entrepreneurs, it's all about those outcomes. To have a successful business, we
Absolutely.
have to have outcomes. But we can't start from idea and go straight to outcome, right? We got to be able to do the in between. And the in between would be finding the solutions to the problem you identify, or the problems that you're having in your business, then taking those actions and then monitoring those actions to make sure you're getting the results that you need. You got to be able to identify your metrics, your key performance indicators, those things that are meaningful to your business, to help you determine whether or not your business is hitting that success mark you've decided for your business. Because each one of us, we got different marks for success. You know, one person might have A, the other person might have B. We have different marks for success. So it's a matter of, am I actually hitting the mark for my company's success? And if not, then I got to look at the actions I'm taking. And if the actions I'm taking aren't really getting us where we need to be, then maybe that solution was not the right solution. Then is it really that is the solution, or did we identify the wrong problem? So for me, in the end, I realized solutions plus actions equals results. And most importantly, when you put them all together, they help you to soar.
Wonderful. Described very beautifully in very short words. But then we would certainly like to know more how your clients are getting benefited of these equations, and how do you actually help, or a client review, if you could share with us a story of your client.
Oh, people ask me for a story, then I got to play favorites with my clients. I love all of my clients. I truly enjoy working with each and every one of them, for sure. And each one of them have a different problem that they're facing, right? And one that can come to mind really quickly for me is in terms of an individual who was looking at using their time better, right? And they knew what outcomes they wanted to get, but they weren't getting those outcomes. They were taking actions, but they weren't getting them. So we sat down and we looked all the way down into her calendar and looking at the actions she actually had, well, not actions, the tasks she had listed on the calendar. Then we talked about these actions. But then we also had a conversation of, how do these things align with your big picture, with your strategic goal, with the mission that you have for your business. So making those
Yes,
connections, because there are a lot of things that people end up doing every single day that don't really connect with truly where they want to be. Some of those things can be very much so distractors rather than things that can help
correct,
you moving forward. So in terms of
correct.
working with her, I was able to help her identify what were the non-negotiables for her personally, but also what were the non-negotiables for her business, because those are two different things. A lot of people, especially when you're a founder, you think they're all joined up together, but you're two separate entities. You're the person, and then you are running a business. So being able to help her look at not just were those non-negotiables, but truly looking at what were her strategic goals and what was she doing on a weekly basis that aligned with those goals, and then what was happening on a daily basis that connected to the goals themselves. And were you actually writing them down to write them down, or were you actually writing them down to do something with it? So looking at,
Correct.
okay, what's really the problem here? Because there were weeks where she identified exactly what she needed to do, but what happened in actuality was not what she thought she was going to be doing. So being able to look at, why did you choose to do these other things instead? So sometimes you can be quick to say, oh, you did them because the other things were a little bit too difficult. No, sometimes when you take time to truly analyze the things you did instead, you end up identifying, hey, you addressed the problem that's actually more significant than your initial problem. And when you do, that's why I said earlier, that analysis helps tremendously, because being able to look at the actions she was truly taking helped us to
Correct.
see where she really wanted to be going with her business because of what she was focusing on doing the most. So it really helped her with
Absolutely.
improving her efficiency, improving her productivity, and reorganizing her goals, which ended up with her managing her time better. And she was able to get more done, more of the things she wanted to do, and she got a clearer plan in the direction she wanted to go. Right. So that's one of those examples. And in another example, I worked with a client that had their vision of, hey, this is what I wanted to do with my company. And in his situation, he had a lot going on with which direction he wanted to go in. So really sitting down with him again, that vision and that mission is more important than most business owners seem to think. It isn't just a statement you put on paper. It is the thing that is guiding your business. And when you don't have
Correct.
clarity in your vision and your mission, you end up just spinning in a spot, right? Or you might
Yes.
end up with several spinning plates going on, but you're never really moving forward with anything. So in his case, we had to sit down and really look at what was the reason why he started his business. Because he was having an issue with reaching out to investors and getting his
Okay.
message across to investors. And the reason why his message was so muffled was because he had so many different pieces going into it that it wasn't clear. So being able to work with him for him to get that clarity with his vision and with his mission, he was better able to say what he wanted to say towards investors. And I was able to connect him with some financial experts so that he could, do a little demo with them of, hey, this is my pitch, so to speak, about what I want to get. And he learned about how making that change and getting that clarity made a huge difference in how people
Wow.
receive his pitch. So it's getting that clarity
That's a
that
wonderful
helps.
exercise actually that you formed for him,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because it's a kind of a rehearsals which he did to improve himself and get to the pitch. I mean, I think you're working really very hard with your clients from A to Z,
Mm-hmm.
to making note of small tiny points, and recommending them where they can improve and how they can soar higher and higher. That's a wonderful job you're doing, Dr. P. That's really amazing.
Thank you.
Applause to the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And that's why when I tell people you get a customized experience within our SoAR with Coaching program, that is what you're getting. You're getting a customized experience, because everybody needs something slightly different in order to help
Correct.
themselves as a business owner, and then help their business on a whole, and help their team that they're working with. Because
Yes.
Dr. Singh, having the right team around you makes a big difference. It makes a big difference, right? And you can have
Certainly.
10 people You could have put them in positions, but then you realize I gotta do a little reorganizing, and you got to put them where their strengths are. And that's why I did with another client. They had team members there, but they still weren't moving forward. And it turns out, did a whole organizational assessment with them. Turns out they had people on board that weren't even aligned with their vision and mission. They were just there for the paycheck versus the vision and mission for the company. So it was a matter of, yes, making those hard decisions of, I need to let you go. Because if you stay, you're not going to help my company move forward. And it's even worse when you let go of someone without somebody to replace them yet. We do take that risk sometimes. But in his
I
case,
know, correct.
he did it and it paid off for him because he was able to get rid of the people who were not aligned with the vision and mission for his company and was able to hire on those who were in alignment with it and who want to be there to continue moving that vision and mission forward. And it has made a huge difference for morale within the company because the morale is another part that people might ignore when they have teams, because that
Yes.
morale can really impact your productivity in a negative way, and it can also have a negative impact on your company culture. So like in my client's case, when he got rid of those people who were not aligned with the vision and mission, the morale of the team changed in such a positive way. Productivity went up, collaboration went up, and things were nicer and happier. You could have feel the difference. The tension was no longer there. You could feel that positivity. And he has continued to grow, and he's looking at adding more of the key people he needs because he now has the foundational team. Now he's adding on more to his team. So for him, I am so excited with what they were able to do because they did the difficult thing of having to let go of people, and that's not easy, but
That's
when you're
not
running a
easy.
business, you got to do what's best for your business. And if those individuals are not a good fit, then you have to make those tough decisions. So working with
Yes.
him on workflow and what job responsibilities are, aligning with the vision and mission, and having that performance evaluation component checked in, not micromanaging, and helping people to be the best they can in their roles. That is something that worked with him and his team with. And when I started with them, they had about 20 something employees in one location. Now they've expanded to 2 locations, and I believe they're closer now to 100 than to the 20 something because they've expanded and their second location is much bigger and they have a lot more team players there and they're continuing to grow. So that's another one where, again, looking at what was happening specifically for them and using it to help them benefit.
That's wonderful. That's really and very, no, I would say, customization work that you're doing for your client, and it's great to know from you that they are actually doing great.
Yeah.
This advice, because every business, as you very well described, we go through a lot of ups and downs, and we always look out for solutions, and more than solutions, we always look for guidance. We
Yeah.
look for someone who can just second us, yes, I'm into right direction,
Mm-hmm.
yes, oh no, I'm into wrong way, or probably someone who's defining your edges and your questions, your solutions, and a lot of assessments. And I think there comes the role of Dr. P, who is actually doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Singh.
So, Dr. Priscilla, we would now like to have your success mantra and your words of inspiration for our business leaders who are just starting out on their journey.
I would say never ever give up. If this is truly something you want to be doing as an entrepreneur, as a business leader, as a business owner, you never give up on what is meaningful to you. Because in life, and if you followed me on different social media channels and interviews, you've heard me say you live, you learn, and you move on. And we got one
Beautiful.
life to live, and we got to be able to embrace all of the experiences. Some are going to be amazing, and some gonna make us want to stay in bed and pull that sheet over the cover and like, no, I'm not coming out. But eventually you have to.
Yes,
We're human. You take a hit, you take the blow, and you learn from it from a business point of view, because not every decision we make is going to end in a positive. It's
positively,
going to
yes.
end in a way that we did not expect. Sometimes it can be an expected good, sometimes it can be an unexpected bad. But the most important thing is to learn from it. We do have to learn from it, right? And once you've learned from it, then you have to figure out, okay, what's going to be my next step? Because even though you might be in bed and that sheet over the cover, remember, you got to get up. You're going to get up at some point in time. And when we take that sheet from over our head, you got to take a step. The feet still got to come down onto the bed and hit the ground, right? We still have to be able to take that next step and move on. And yes, it's easier said than done. I know it. Dr. Singh knows it. Other business owners listening to this know it. It is
No,
easier said than done to move on, but we have to. Because once
yes.
you move on, then you're able to truly get that success that you need. I know
True.
sometimes you might need to take a break, might need to walk away from it for a little bit, and that is fine. And that's where your support system and your network comes into play. And if you don't have an identified support system or network, I highly recommend that you get one. For some of us, I know, like for me, my family is a big part of that. My family
Yes.
is there, my husband is there, my parents are there, my sister is there, I have close friends. They're there to help me, whether it's a good thing or whether it's a bad thing. And sometimes they're excellent at helping you with some blind spots too. They can pinpoint those blind spots for you.
Right.
And
Yes.
where they can't help, I have people in my professional network that I can reach out to. I got mentors, I got coaches myself, other professionals I can reach out to get that support that I'm going to need. Again, whether it's a good moment or whether it's a bad moment, but especially on the bad moment, reaching out to that support system and that network. And if you're listening to this, you're watching this, and you're like, oh, I don't have nothing like that, I highly recommend you start networking. When you start
Yes.
networking, you start building relationships. 5 years ago, I didn't know Dr. Singh, and she didn't even know me, you know? And now I think it's about 2 years, could be at least 2 years almost, that we've now known each other,
Each
right?
other,
And how
yes.
did I meet her? Through professional networking. And we've been able to nurture our relationship that way, so it's
Correct.
being able to do the networking. And it's not like going out and just meeting people. That's not what this is about. You got to be strategic in who you network with. And they have to be people who align with where you want to go in life. So, my advice is never give up. You live, you learn, you move on. Find your support, find your network to help you through the good and the bad and everything else in between.
Wonderful. I think that was very briefly and crisply defined that how an entrepreneur can actually start their journey. And I think we had an amazing session with you, Dr. Priscilla. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think our viewers are going to learn a lot on how their journey could be much better while walking. And of course, if they get stuck up somewhere, they know where to land up.
Yes,
So,
they
Dr.
do.
Priscilla.
Yes, they do. Thank you,
Thank
Dr. Singh. It has been wonderful as always. Whenever we interact, it's always a good time that we have, and I appreciate
Absolutely.
you inviting me to be a participant here on your podcast and to see y'all's podcast grow. Oh my gosh, I remember hearing of the idea of a podcast, but now to be able to see how it has been growing, and I know y'all are going to continue to grow it because that is who y'all are. And if you're listening to this for the first time and you don't know about Passion Vista, you're missing out. You have to go and look at what they're doing. And they're not just India based, they're global. They're on all the continents, all aspects of the world. And they're looking at lifestyle, they're looking at business, and they're truly a good resource for you if you have any aspirations of a global PR reach, I'm doing a little plug for Passion Vista because I truly believe in them. Dr. Singh had no idea I was going to do this. And I just wanted to share the fact that it's not just this podcast. They have tons of resources because they're truly on a mission to help individuals be better in
Be
themselves,
better, yes.
in their life, in their business. That's what they're most passionate about, hence Passion Vista. So y'all go check them out for sure.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode and found it as inspiring as we did. Remember, as Dr. P says, solution actions is equals to results, and that's source. Stay tuned for more episodes featuring incredible stories of leaders who are making a difference. Thank you for tuning into Passion Vista Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Neetu Singh. If you found this podcast helpful, kindly consider subscribing the Passion Vista channel for more great content, and also do not forget to like and share this video with your family and friends. Until next time, keep striving for excellence and empowering those around you. Stay tuned at Passion Vista Podcast.